the sky does not turn white. It disappears. 1 second, you are standing in an ordinary city, hearing traffic, wind, maybe someone shouting your name. The next second, the world becomes a camera flash from hell, so bright your eyes don't just hurt. They feel useless, like your brain has been unplugged from reality. Shadows burn onto walls. Glass windows turn into glittering knives. The air itself seems to punch you in the chest. You don't hear the explosion at first because light is faster than sound, and that is the cruel little physics lesson your body learns right before everything around you becomes fire, pressure, and flying concrete. So what actually kills you in a nuclear blast? The flash? The heat? The shockwave? The radiation? Or the simple fact that the human body was never designed to stand next to a small artificial sun? Oh, hey there. Before we talk about what just happened to your skin, lungs, eyes, blood cells, and very fragile skeleton, let's play a quick game. I'm going to say some myths about nuclear blasts, and you tell me true or false. Ready? Myth 1. If a nuclear bomb goes off near you, you die instantly. True or false? Annoyingly, terrifyingly, it depends. If you are close enough to the center of the blast, yes, death can be essentially instant. Your body is hit by heat, pressure, and radiation so violently that there is no meaningful experience left to describe. But farther out, you may survive the first second and then enter one of the worst medical situations imaginable. So, not always instant. Sometimes instant is the lucky version. Myth 2. Radiation is the main thing that kills most people in a nuclear explosion. True or false? Mostly false, at least near the blast. In the immediate explosion, the biggest killers are thermal radiation, blast pressure, collapsing buildings, fires, and flying debris. Radiation matters, especially for people who survive the first wave, but Hollywood loves glowing green death rays because invisible cell damage is harder to animate. Myth 3. If you duck and cover, you're safe. True or false? Complicated. If you are far enough away, getting behind solid cover can absolutely reduce injuries from heat, glass, and debris. It can save lives. But if you are too close, no heroic school desk maneuver is going to negotiate with a nuclear fireball. Physics is not impressed by optimism. So what actually happens to your body when a nuclear blast hits? First, understand that a nuclear explosion is not just one disaster. It is several disasters stacked on top of each other and delivered in the worst possible order. There is the flash, which can blind you. There is thermal radiation, which can burn exposed skin and ignite materials. There is the blast wave, a wall of compressed air moving outward with enough force to smash buildings and throw people like loose objects. There is prompt radiation near the explosion. Then there is fallout, radioactive dust that can poison survivors later. A nuclear blast is basically a fire, a hurricane, an earthquake, a radiation accident, and a mass casualty trauma event all shaking hands at the same time. Minute zero does not even feel like a minute. It begins with light. If you are looking toward the blast, your retinas can be overwhelmed before your brain understands what happened. You may see a white flash, then after images, then darkness or blurred shapes. Even if you are not looking directly at it, the flash can light up everything around you with a brightness that feels unnatural, like the sun just stepped into the room and forgot to knock. Then comes heat. Thermal radiation travels outward at the speed of light, and depending on distance, weather, clothing, and cover, it can burn exposed skin before the sound arrives. Close in, the heat is not like standing near a fire. It is like the atmosphere becomes an oven door opening against your face. Skin can redden, blister, or char. Dark clothing may absorb more heat. Materials around you can ignite: paper, curtains, dry wood, hair, fabric. The city begins catching fire in fragments before the shockwave even arrives. Your pain receptors fire wildly, unless the injury is so extreme that nerves are destroyed too quickly to report properly. And yes, your body has customer service, but in this case, all the lines are jammed. Then, finally, the sound arrives. But calling it sound is adorable. This is the blast wave. A crushing wall of pressure slams into you and everything nearby. Your eardrums may rupture. Your lungs can be damaged by the sudden pressure change. The air is forced out of your chest. You may not scream because your body is too busy being moved by the atmosphere. Buildings flex, crack, and fail. Windows explode inward. Glass becomes shrapnel. Metal twists. Concrete fractures. Cars flip. The street turns into a blender full of architecture. If the blast pressure is high enough, your body can be thrown into walls, vehicles, rubble, or the ground. Bones break. Organs tear. Blood vessels rupture. The injuries may not be clean or cinematic. They are messy, internal, confusing. You might look down and not immediately understand how badly you are hurt because shock has arrived. And shock is the brain's terrible little mercy. It narrows the world. It makes pain strange. It makes time feel broken. Now let's walk through the timeline from your perspective, assuming you are not at the very center, because at the very center, the script is one word: nothing. Second 0. The flash hits. Your vision whites out. Your skin feels heat, maybe like a sudden burn, maybe like your entire exposed body has been slapped by fire. Your brain has not caught up. There is no explosion sound yet, just light. Too much light. Seconds 1 through 3. The thermal pulse is doing its work. Exposed skin may burn. Your eyes may be injured. Nearby materials begin smoking or igniting. You might instinctively turn away, duck, or raise your arms, but your reflexes are slower than physics. Your brain is asking a very reasonable question. Why did the sun explode sideways? Seconds 3 through 10. The blast wave arrives depending on your distance. Pressure hits your body. If you are standing near windows, glass tears through the room. If you are outside, debris flies through the air. You may be knocked down or thrown. Your ears ring or go silent. Your lungs struggle. The pressure can injure the delicate air sacs where oxygen enters your blood. Breathing becomes sharp, wet, or impossible. Dust fills the air. The world turns brown, orange, gray, and screaming. The next minute, fires spread, buildings collapse. People who survived the flash and shockwave are now surrounded by smoke, rubble, burning fuel, broken electrical lines, and dust so thick it feels like breathing powdered cement. If you are trapped, you may not know where up is. Your hearing may be gone. Your vision may be blurred. You taste metal, dust, blood, smoke. Every breath hurts. If your lungs are burned or damaged, oxygen becomes harder to get even though the air is everywhere. That is one of the body's cruelest jokes. The next several minutes. If you have severe burns, your body begins losing fluid through damaged skin. Burn shock can start. Your blood pressure drops. Your heart races. Pain becomes overwhelming unless shock dulls it into a distant roaring thing. If you have internal injuries from blast pressure or impact, you may bleed inside without understanding why you feel cold, weak, and sleepy. Your body is trying to keep the brain and heart alive by sacrificing everything else. Very dramatic, very inefficient, very human. If prompt radiation reaches you in a serious dose, the early signs may not look like a glowing skeleton. They may look like nausea, vomiting, weakness, dizziness, confusion. Radiation damages cells that divide quickly. Bone marrow, gut lining, immune cells. You may survive the first hour and still be in deep trouble. The terrifying part is that radiation can be quiet. Burns announce themselves. Broken bones announce themselves. Radiation walks in like a polite assassin and starts editing your biology. The final stage depends on what got you first. If you are very close, the blast and heat kill almost immediately. If you are farther out, death may come from traumatic injury, burns, smoke inhalation, building collapse, blood loss, infection, or radiation sickness. Your consciousness fades differently depending on the cause. With blood loss, the world narrows, sounds stretch, vision tunnels, and coldness creeps in. With lung injury or smoke inhalation, panic spikes because the body hates one thing more than pain: not breathing. With severe burns and shock, awareness may flicker in and out as blood pressure falls. With radiation sickness, death can take hours, days, or longer, and that is its own nightmare. From your perspective, the most horrifying part may be the confusion. A nuclear blast is too big for the brain to process. You do not think, ah yes, a multi-stage weapons effect involving thermal radiation, overpressure, and ionizing radiation. You think, why is everything bright? Why can't I hear? Why is the building moving? Why is my skin screaming? Why is the air full of knives? Your brain is trying to build a story out of impossible information, but the story keeps catching fire. Best case scenario, if that phrase is even allowed near this topic, you are far enough away, behind solid cover, not near windows and shielded from the thermal pulse. You may suffer temporary blindness, cuts, hearing damage, burns, or trauma, but survive the initial blast. Cover matters, distance matters, buildings matter. Luck matters most, which is rude, because luck has terrible customer support. Worst case scenario, you are close to the fireball, or in the zone where heat and pressure are overwhelming. There may be no pain, no fear, no final thought. The body is destroyed too quickly for consciousness to make notes. The nightmare version is not the instant death. The nightmare version is surviving long enough to experience burns, crush injuries, smoke, thirst, radiation sickness, and a city where hospitals, roads, power, water, and help have all been damaged at the same time. Reality check. Nuclear weapons have only been used in war twice, at Hiroshima and Nagasaki in 1945, and the human suffering was beyond anything a clean animation can communicate. People died instantly near the blasts. Others died from burns, injuries, fires, and radiation effects afterward. Modern nuclear weapons can be far more powerful than those used in 1945, which is a sentence that should make every person on Earth sit quietly for a moment and reconsider our species' hobbies. Scientific uncertainty still exists because nuclear blast injuries vary wildly. Distance, yield, altitude, weather, terrain, buildings, clothing, posture, and shelter all change what happens. Two people in the same city can have completely different outcomes because one was behind a wall and the other was beside a window. Movies often simplify it into either instant vaporization or dramatic slow-motion shockwaves. Reality is uglier and more random. It is not one clean circle of death. It is zones of heat, pressure, debris, fire, radiation, collapse, and medical chaos overlapping like the worst Venn diagram ever made. So what does dying from a nuclear blast feel like? If you are close enough, it may feel like nothing, because the light, heat, and pressure erase the experience before your brain can process it. If you are farther away, it may feel like being blinded by the sun, burned by the air, punched by the sky, buried by your own city, and then betrayed by your cells from the inside. Nuclear death is not one death. It is a menu of horrible options, and the universe does not let you choose the least painful one. So maybe appreciate every boring, normal day where the sky stays blue, the windows stay windows, and the sun remains a comfortable 93 million miles away instead of making a surprise appearance at street level. Like and subscribe if you enjoy terrifying science explained way too clearly. And remember, if the horizon suddenly becomes brighter than your future, your day has officially taken a nuclear turn.